Hey, this is Brett Gursky. Welcome to another episode of On the List. This is episode number 68. It's July 2021. We are coming to you from the BLEAV Podcast Network. My guest today is a friend of mine who's also a very talented actor and musician. We first got to know him from his role as Sam Evans on the hit show GLEE. Next up, he's starring on a new Apple series called Acapulco, and he's also got new music out. His latest album, Stone Man, was just released last week. Of course, I'm talking about CHORD Overstreet. What's up, CHORD?
What's up, Brett?
How are you?
Good, man. Just back in town finally.
Yeah, you've been gone for a little while. We're going to talk about that in a second. So we are on Zoom right now. So the video from this podcast will be available on YouTube and Instagram. So I think we haven't seen each other obviously in person since before the pandemic. I think the last time was Paris Hilton's house for her birthday party,
Probably right.
which is like a wild last place to see someone before the world shuts down. But you had a birthday party the next weekend at your house, but I was at the Mammoth Film Festival, so I couldn't go.
Yeah, me and Paris actually have the same birthday. Oddly enough, I had to do mine later because of her birthday. But yeah, it's crazy. That was the last. That was literally like, I think my party was literally the last party that happened before
Yeah,
everything went into quarantine.
yeah, it had to have been because that was it. I mean, I came back from the Mountain Film Festival, and that was the last event that I went to. It was wild times. But we're 16 months later now, and things are starting to open back up, and life was very unusual to say the least. But actually, back in March 2020, when it all started, that first month of the pandemic, you started doing performances from your couch called quarantine sessions. I feel like you were one of the first people to do that, and then everyone started doing it.
It was. I mean, there really wasn't anything else to do. I mean, that was like. I mean, you really were only leaving home to go get groceries.
Yeah.
And then that was me pretty much wearing a full hazmat suit. I had like the
Right.
rubber, I had the rubber gloves on, I had the mask, I had these goggles on, and I looked like something out of some alien movie.
Yeah, you had to take every precaution. I mean, that's when we were still like wiping down boxes that were being delivered. It was a crazy time. Like we'll never forget it, I don't think.
Yeah, there was, I remember the top of the quarantine, my roommate at the time, I had ordered something on Amazon, and, at this point, I was just so excited for anything, anything new. And it was came, and I just
Yeah.
like bit into it, ripped it open in my mouth. He's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You got to sanitize it first. It's like,
Right.
he's like, you probably have COVID now.
We didn't know, but luckily we came out the other side okay, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And then I remember actually we were texting, it was like probably May 2020, like 2 months in, and just kind of checking in. And I was saying, I wondered if this time in our lives would inspire a lot of great music because people had time to focus on what really mattered most to them. And you said something interesting. You said, in the beginning, since we couldn't go anywhere, it's hard to write because you're not leaving the house or going into the world or experiencing things. So it's actually like you weren't sure if you were going to be able to write music or not.
Yeah, it's oddly I mean, being at home without, I mean, you have a lot of time on your hands, yes. And you have a lot of time with, or you can reflect on a lot of things. But my biggest inspiration for music has always been uh, when I, went out into the world and experienced things and they hit me in a different way. And, you have all these emotions that are kind of flying out of you. You try to make sense of them and write them down when they come. But when you're, spending a lot of time with yourself and you're not experiencing really anything, and, Netflix or Hulu or all
Right.
these platforms are your best friend, it's like you go a little bit mad.
Yeah.
But
You probably go inside yourself a little bit, like introspective.
yeah, and then I got to go spend like a month in Nashville, and see my family, and then I
Yeah.
came back for a little bit, and I went back for another month, and that's when I started. I was able to write a lot, and Nashville was one of the places that kind of was still kind of open
Hmm.
when I went
Yeah.
back. So it was kind of like I at least had a little bit of the bursts of sanity here and there.
Yeah, so that helped. And then now you just got back, like you said, you just got back to LA. You were in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
You were there filming your new show for Apple called Acapulco. So let's talk about that first. From what I've read, I know it's a comedy series that's like a prequel to the movie How to Be a Latin Lover. Takes place at the hottest resort in Acapulco. Takes place in 1984, which I love anything 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
So how many months were you in Mexico? What was it like?
I got back 2 days ago. I was there for 3 months. It was a really great experience, really cool. I definitely learned a lot of Spanish. Um, a
Nice.
lot of dirty words in Spanish too. Um,
What phrase did you use the most?
I can't even
No,
say it 'cause-
not the dirty ones. Like what
oh,
was the most like basic every day?
um, I would say like something like I mean, there's this thing they kind of had me saying where it was like, "Ese no es mi pedo," which is it's slang, but it means like, it's not my job, it's not my problem, or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
But pedo can mean a bunch of different things. But that was kind of the one thing they were making memes of pictures of me being like, "Ese no es mi pedo."
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, because I worked on a movie in Paris, Rush Hour 3, and we were staying at the Plaza Athénée. So I was always saying, Je voudrais aller à la Plaza Athénée to like the taxi drivers. So
Yeah.
you come back from like a few months away and you have these phrases that you use all day
Well,
long.
I noticed that because I went out to dinner the night I got back, and uh, I was so used to like being like ordering food or whatever and being like gracias, and and so like every time like somebody would bring over like a drink or your entree, whatever, I'd be saying gracias to
Wow.
to uh this like whoever was there that's American. So
Right, exactly. But that's kind of nice.
from habit, I was just like I was like speaking little bits and pieces of Spanish
Yeah.
here.
You were being polite in other languages, which is nice.
Exactly. I was like, oh gosh, I'm sorry. I keep doing that. Lo siento. Uh,
That's funny.
but no, it was a really fun experience. It was um, really great cast and crew and great story and writers and stuff. It's really fun. It's really funny. It takes place in 1984, and the set design, the clothes. It's like going into a time machine. It's really cool.
Well, that's good. It gives us something to look forward to this year. And you got to shoot, even though there was a pandemic going on. So you got a project done in this crazy
I
time.
know, and it was so weird because we're going down there and shooting, and it's like unless you're eating, it's mask, and you're staying at the hotel in the bubble, and everybody's we're completely still quarantined over there, and coming
Wow.
back to LA and everything's open is such a weird thing to see.
Yeah, culture shock for sure.
Yeah.
So before we talk about your new music, of course, you mentioned this. Your name is Chord, obviously, and you're a musician, which ended up being a perfect fit. Explain how you ended up with such a musical name.
So my dad's a songwriter, a country music songwriter, and we have 6 kids in our family, and I was the third one born, and there's 3 notes in a chord, and my
Nice.
sister who's younger than me her name's Harmony, and there's like 4 parts harmony. So I think they just started after the first 2 kids. They were like, well, let's just just start rattling off
Wait, that's
music
cool.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that it also had to do with the birth order. That's cool. And your dad is Paul Overstreet. He's written
Mhm.
#1 songs for Blake Shelton, Randy Travis, Kenny Chesney, the Judds. So obviously the musical talent runs in the family.
Yeah, he's a pretty badass when it comes to writing a song. Yeah, I grew up, just kind of watching him perform and do these shows, and I was always drawn to the music just from seeing it from a really early age.
Yeah, that's cool. And your brother Nash Overstreet, he's in the band
Mhm.
Hot Shell Ray. Uh, is he named after Nashville? Does that
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
there you go.
'cause everybody's
Nice.
kind of got a wacky name in my family.
No, but I like that you guys went into the music industry with those names. It was like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, I have a sister who her name's Summer. She's obviously born in the summer.
Yeah.
Uh, there's Harmony, and then Sky. I think it was because it was like raining for like 3 weeks before she was born, and then when she was born, it was sunny and you could see the sky. And then
Wow.
the last one's Charity, and my mom was like 43 when she had her, and I think that was she was just like the cherry on top. So it was just Charity at that point.
Wow, that's so cool. That's neat. I never knew that. That's a cool backstory. Well,
Yeah, there's a lot of us.
that's cool. But you're all doing really well. That's nice. So to give people a little more backstory, so we've known each other for a while. I was thinking it's got to be at least 11 years, because it was back when you
Probably.
first started on Glee, which was 2010. So it's got to be. Um,
Yeah, shit.
it's wild. Yeah, it's over a decade. We've always had a lot of mutual friends. A bunch of my friends ended up on Glee. You and Darren Chris, Max Adler, Mark Salling, Corey Monteith, and the show was like the breakout project for all of you, and you were all on it together. And then another close mutual friend of ours used to be your roommate, Glenn Powell,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which is wild. I
I
met
know.
Glenn through you.
We lived together for like I think 8 years.
Yeah, and that's when I met him. Yeah, he's been on the podcast before. He was here when Hidden Figures came out. So
Oh, nice.
All the Glenn Powell fans can go back and listen to that episode. But what was it like when you and Glenn were roommates and like coming up together in the business?
Oh man. Well, we met at like 19, and
Wow.
we're just kind of like always homies, and kind of we just had a lot of fun together, and kind of I remember I was moving out of one of my places. I was like 19, I think. Yeah, I was like 19, moving out of one of my places that I was living in, and my my other roommates uh would like were still staying at the house, and I was moving into an apartment because my sister was moving into town, so she was doing like a lot of dance stuff, and so I'd split a place with her. And when we were moving out, like you know how you hit up a bunch of friends to move,
Right.
and and you know it's really hard to get somebody to help you move, but Glenn was, you know, the only friend that like came out like
Wow.
last minute notice and like helped me move and stuff. And he's just kind of always been he's been the guy that you want to get in a pinch with. So
Yeah, totally.
so we've been best buds since 19, and it's been great to see his, you know, I've gotten to see all of the hard work he's put in, and all the time and shit that goes behind when you get something to kind of work and take off. So it's really great to see him kind of see the evolution of, you know, from 19 to 32.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's got Top Gun 2 coming out finally, which will be really fun to see.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to see it.
It keeps Yeah, it keeps getting delayed, but I think it's finally going to come out this time.
Yeah, that's one of my all-time favorite movie franchises. So I'm super pumped to see the next one, and also like uh, just the trailer and visual effects from, you know, the 80s to where they are now. It's probably gonna be insane.
Yeah, it looks amazing. Yeah, but I remember meeting Glenn at a party at Corey's house, and he introduced himself to me. And it was so early on that I was like, "Oh, what do you do in LA?" And he's like, "I'm an actor." Like I didn't even know at that point. That's how far back it goes, which
Yeah,
is wild.
I feel like everybody in LA is an actor, even if they don't say it.
Yeah, actor, writer, director, something like
Like
that.
everybody in Nashville comes there to be a songwriter.
Yeah, exactly. True. And so since then, we've celebrated lots of birthdays together, special occasions, nights out at Bootsy Bellows Chateau. And it's been great watching you and all our friends, you know, just come up in the business and succeed. So before we talk about the acting career, let's talk about the music. So would you say music is your first love? Do you love them both equally? How do you feel about music and acting?
Um, I mean, it's they're just two very different things. There's acting has always been, you know, I came out and moved out to LA to pursue acting. I've always loved expressing myself in a, you know, a different way. Not, you know, not playing a character is always, it's always a blast and always
Yeah.
fun, challenging. You know, I'm learning. I'm still learning. I'm always learning. Music is one of those things. Music is one of those things to where it's like I grew up with it. It's kind of like embedded in me. Like if I'm sitting in my room by myself playing a song, or, you know, or writing or whatever, it's kind of just an outlet for me to, it's almost like therapy.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
you know, music's one of those things that I do for myself when nobody's around. And I also get to perform live and, you know, make people happy or entertain people.
Yeah, I've gotten to
Acting,
see you perform live at the Roxy. You put on a great show, and a lot of people came
uh,
out to
thanks,
support.
man. Yeah, and acting is kind of when the performance side of it, it's kind of the same rush that you get when you're performing live, and it's that like, you know, time flies by in a second, and you're really, when you're really in something, it's such a rush. But the difference with the acting side is like you're probably not going to sit at home in front of a mirror and just start, doing monologues to yourself in the mirror.
Right.
It takes, you need a whole crew and all that stuff to do it. So it's like if you're by yourself and kind of alone with your thoughts, music's always kind of been just very therapeutic for me.
Yeah, and music, I guess if you write the song, you're expressing your own feelings, whereas acting, you're reading a script maybe that somebody else wrote.
Yeah, and you need somebody else to write it, and
Yeah.
you can try to write your own scripts, but it's not always as good as the guys who are at the top.
Yeah, but as far as your own songs, you write them all, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I've been writing since I was like, I mean, probably since I was like 9 or 10, but like
wow.
real songs probably when I was like 15 or 16. Um, I would always write goofy like joke songs when I was younger, and then I tore my ACL in high school. I was on Oxycontin, and my dad came home and we're playing video games, and he was like, "Turn that damn game off and write a song." So
Wow.
I started writing a song, and he came back and helped me finish it. And once I started, I couldn't put it down.
Oh, that's so cool. I like that. And
Yeah,
so we talked about how like the first few months of the pandemic weren't sure, if people would write. You went to Nashville, you started writing, and then September 2020, you released an EP called Hold On. Was that one of the first songs that you wrote during the pandemic, or was that before?
no. So I wrote "Hold On" probably in 2016 maybe, and I
Okay.
released it in 2017. Had a uh, had it synced to this TV show called Vampire Diaries, where it was on the last episode of that show, and then we did a re-release of as the acoustic, a remix, and then the other thing in 2020. So they did the re-release then.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
but that song, I think I probably wrote it in 2015, maybe 2014.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it seems like
Yeah.
it's based on relationships having a lot of ups and downs, right?
Yeah, I had a bunch of like a really tumultuous relationship at the time, and then it was very toxic. And then on top of that, like I had just lost um, a friend to, I mean, obviously um, a close friend, like a drug overdose, and so there,
Mhm.
it was kind of a I got put in a similar situation with this relationship to where it didn't go there, but I was like, I was thinking from a hypothetical place, like I don't think I'd be able to take that again.
Mm.
And so the song came out of that, and it was looking back, it's like that's kind of one of those situations where if I'm talking about writing songs, like sometimes you don't really write the song as much as you experience something, and it kind of comes out of you.
Mm. Yeah.
You're not really trying to write a song, you're just expressing what's going on. And that's why it's really hard when you're holed up in your house and not able to experience anything. It's hard to manufacture something that isn't real.
Mm.
So when the life experience is kind of sucked out of you, it's what do you have to talk about?
Yeah, exactly. And so what were the songs that you started writing in quarantine? Were those the ones you released November, December?
Yeah, I wrote this song called "The Only One" that I just put up, that just came out on the EP, and it's kind of about uh, right at the top of quarantine. It was like, the first lyrics are "empty beaches, endless stars, but finding peace has never been so hard." It's like it's because I would drive around like Venice, and the beaches are just empty and it looked like a ghost town, and which you would think would be very peaceful, but you have all this anxiety and this fear from what's going on. And
Totally.
then in the chorus, it's like, trying not to lose my mind and waiting for the day to come and when everything will be right. And I know I can't be the only one. Kind of like this feeling, like I feel like everybody's experiencing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
it's
interesting that you say that because it was eerie. It was like it was peaceful and quiet, but there was something eerie about it. Like I live near Robertson Boulevard and I would walk Robertson every day with my dog and there were no people. Every place was closed. There weren't even cars parked at the meters and it was like a ghost town. And it was like you said, like you couldn't enjoy the peacefulness because there was something spooky about it.
Yeah, there's just like this kind of just this gray cloud over everything where it's like,
Mhm.
people that were struggling with depression got worse. People that are having anxiety. There's all this info from online of all this shit happening. You can't leave your house. Everybody's in fear of, getting sick and getting other people sick. Nobody's seeing
Yeah.
their families. People are losing that human connection. So, you know, yeah, and on top of that, everybody's like leaving LA, everybody's going all these places and trying to find, a place to where they're not used to operating at a faster speed.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
like LA is one of those places, like, it's like it's always going, the energy, the speed. It's like it's not exactly like New York, but like New York is one of those places that everything's moving so fast that if you're sitting still in it, it feels really odd and you get anxiety from and restlessness.
Yep. Yeah. When I'm in LA, I feel like I got on a ride and I'm on that ride like a roller coaster until I leave town to go somewhere else. Like LA it's a ride. It's interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
so it's like I feel more comfortable moving at a slower pace
mhm.
back home in Nashville and like
Right.
being able to hang with the family and like chill on the farm and like play with my dogs and like, you know, my nephews and just like not have to be feeling like I have to do something.
100%. That's how New Jersey is for me. My nephew and nieces, and you just exist. I get to just exist. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and it
Um,
takes away a lot of that anxiety and it's like you're okay with moving at a slower pace.
yeah, you're not on stage like you are in LA, I guess is a good way to put it, maybe.
Yeah.
But so in November and December, you released two singles, Cold Feet and Water into Wine. And Water into Wine's got this like really unique sound. I think that's a great song. What was the inspiration for that song? Because it's really cool.
Um, the inspiration for that song was uh I had this title in my phone, and what I kind of do when I write is sometimes, I do this thing where I'll just write something down. I don't know what it means yet, and then I kind of try to make like a cool, like a title that like you've heard water into wine, like Jesus turning water into wine.
Right.
And I was thinking of an interesting spin on that, where it's like talking about a past relationship where you take something good and you can turn it into something bad by your self-destructive qualities
Mm,
and self-sabotaging with relationships uh, and it was kind of just this like having all these emotions for somebody that didn't have them back for you. And it's like it feels like an ocean. I'm drowning in the deepest blue, and and it goes into like there's one verse in there that's like find me swaying side to side, holding on a street light, crying out for you. Just like I've been in that place where I've been, drunk in New York and drinking too much and doing stupid shit and making shit worse and making shit. And it's like I'm taking this one thing and I'm making it so much worse. And so it's like I
oh,
was just like I'm turning water into wine. And I just thought it was like just an interesting way to just we're all the majority of us is water. And so I
yeah.
just thought there's like a lot of different levels in there to say that story of
Oh, that's
just
cool. Yeah, I like kind of finding out the behind the music of the songs. That's really cool. And then also I loved Cold Feet. To me, that song almost has like a John Mayer vibe to it a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, Talk about Cold Feet and kind of who some of your inspirations are in music in general.
Well, I wrote that song actually on a Zoom.
Oh,
Um,
really?
I was in Nashville. I was at my dad's dining room table and on my computer out writing with my buddy Brett Trude, who's great, and then Quinn Quinn Lewis. And that song came from I had the title on my phone, Cold Feet, and it's like an interesting thing. It's like when you like my girlfriend will like literally put her feet on me in bed and they're cold, and that's usually the one thing like, hey, stop, like and it was like I
Yeah.
was like making it like to where it's okay, like and so like it's like just I just thought it was an interesting, like if you get cold feet in the middle of the night, I'll always be there, and if you
Yeah.
still want me, and the uh I just thought that that was an interesting twist on kind of a cutesy, kind of like a relationship thing. And then I was like, well, you know, when you get cold feet, like backing out of something later on in life, if you're going to marry somebody,
Yep.
and it's like, it's basically a way to be like, you know, I'm going to love you regardless at all times.
Nice.
And it's like, if you get cold feet in the middle of the aisle, I'll always be there at some state, you know, kind of just this reassurance to somebody that it's okay. It's okay to, you know, essentially be flawed, and, you know, my love isn't going to change. So it's kind of that, um, that feeling with that.
I like that. And so who are some of your musical inspirations that you look up to or aspire to be like?
Um, I mean, I love just great storytellers. I love the stories behind music.
Yeah.
I love when you hear a song and you just kind of, it's almost like meditating, but you visualize what's going on. You have this whole picture in your head,
Yeah.
and it really kind of puts you in an experience that somebody else wrote. That's like when music's at its best to me. And some of my favorite storytellers are James Taylor's great,
Oh
John
yeah.
Mayer's great, um, Jimmy Buffett, one of
Yeah.
my favorite bands of all time, Hall and Oates. But like a lot of the writers that were writing a lot of the old country music, like the Tim McGraw, George Strait, Randy Travis. My dad is probably my biggest inspiration and storyteller.
For sure.
Um, but I grew up knowing about more writers and more about writers than I knew about artists, because
Right.
I my all my dad's friends were writing with my dad all these like massive country hits to where there's like, it's like full on movies.
Right. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It's those songs when a great storyteller, you see the movie play out in your head from
Yeah,
that
like
song.
there's this Dean Dillon song, or it's a George Strait song, but my dad's friend Dean Dillon wrote it, and it's called The Chair. And it's like, it starts off with, well, excuse me, but I think you got my chair. And it ends, the song ends, to tell you the truth, that wasn't my chair after all. And it's like, he goes in with this pickup line to get this girl to dance and to get interested. And it's like, you know,
Oh,
and it ends with this, it's not like a conventional song, and it's one of George's best songs, but it's just such a great story that you disappear in the song.
yeah. As a kid, did you wonder like how come that person's writing it, but that person's performing it and getting the credit for it? Did you ever wonder like how come the songwriter doesn't get more recognition because it's their story, really? Or was that just how it was?
Yeah, I never really thought about it. I mean, I definitely had way more like respect for the songwriter, because I was like, this is where the source of the story is coming from.
Exactly.
Like one of my dad's good friends wrote, "I Can't Make You Love Me," uh,
Wow.
and hearing him play it live, it's so much. There's just a different meaning than when Bonnie Raitt sings it, and
Right.
hearing the story behind it, like how it came to be and how she got the song and how it just like all happened. It's kind of like a magical energy that takes over. But the most people and that listen to music don't realize that the artists don't write all their songs.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I never really thought about um, the
Credit.
artist performing it versus the writer.
Yeah.
I just always was like, oh wow, my dad's writing this, and this song's on the radio, and hearing my dad is always kind of like, it was always like, hey, yeah, well, my dad wrote that song. It was always kind of just cool for me.
Very cool. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I didn't like, you know, I used to think Elvis wrote all his music.
Yeah, of course. But did you think, when you write music one day, you want to be the one to perform it? Was that kind of a goal?
My goal was really to never have, uh, since like my dad was a songwriter, my biggest goal was to have a hit song on the radio with somebody performing it.
Wow. Nice.
No, not caring if it's me or not. I just wanted to have a song that I was proud of, that somebody that the world in general liked as much as I did and responded to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's amazing is that music becomes the soundtrack of other people's lives, That's what's so
Yeah.
cool is that people kind of adopt songs to whatever it means to them, which
Yeah,
is
and that's one of the things that like I've had people come up to me with the song "Hold On." It's like a very heavy song,
Hmm.
but I've had people come up to me and say that they were this close to giving up on living, or and they heard a song and it changed something for them. So it's like if you could
Wow.
help one person with music, it's just like such an incredible gift to be able to share.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Wow.
And it's like it really doesn't matter what what your success is at the time. You can't really measure it that way. It's like more like you look at it like what kind of effect you have on anybody that hears it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I go after. And if you think about most art and like painters, like a lot of them die before their paintings are ever successful.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's you got to kind of just do it because you love it, and that's it. I just look at it as a way I can express myself, that I'm not self-conscious about opening up in a conversation to a stranger, being like, hey, here's all my issues, here's what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little bit of a way I can talk about stuff indirectly without having to talk about it.
Yeah, it's a window into your world.
Yeah, it's like it's like a journal for me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I keep a journal. I haven't turned it into music, but I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it's just kind of like one of those things to where I don't remember like very specifics of like timelines and everything. I remember when I hear a song, I'm like, oh, I remember exactly where I was emotionally when I wrote this. I remember what happened. And it's like, it's almost more vivid than if I were to write down in the journal,
it's so
because
cool.
your emotions are there. You can hear it. You can hear. And so like, I was 20, 21 when I wrote this. I just come from this bar. I just broke up with this girl. I didn't want to, all these different things, and these colors come out when you hear specific songs. So it's kind of like capturing a moment in time, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. That is really cool. It's like your own soundtrack for your life. And what's also cool about your songs, I think, from listening to your music, is that no two songs really sound too much alike. Every song kind of takes on its own genre, really. It's kind of cool. Like you change it up per song.
Yeah, I don't think that that's really intentional. I think it's just I usually kind of let the mood lead it wherever
Mm,
like I'm going into a session tomorrow or whatever, and I'm like trying to write a song. I don't know where I'm going until I'm there.
yeah.
And so it's like whatever kind of however it evolves naturally, it's kind of just like, okay, well, yeah,
Yeah.
must be for a reason.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, so in April, May, and June 2021, you released three more singles, Beautiful Disaster, Stone Man, and What's Left of You. Those are all on the new EP, Stone Man, which just came out June 25th. Um, Tell me what the title Stone Man means, and then kind of the inspiration between those three singles that are the first ones to be released.
Um, Stone Man kind of comes from feeling like you're kind of caught in limbo, and feeling
Mm,
like you had a lot of these emotions for somebody or something, and you were emotionally drained and emotionally fried to where you just kind of feel heavier. You feel like you don't have anything to give. You feel like you're just kind of just stuck in that thing. And it was like from this relationship and this series in life, it was like one of those things to where I felt like I gave 100 times more of my emotions than I received, and at the end of it, I just kind of was I was just kind of numb to a lot of things.
wow.
And that was like the song Stone Man was I just me and my buddy, we actually right before, like right maybe like the week the pandemic hit, he was out in LA,
Mm,
and we did Stone Man, Beautiful Disaster, and then the song Overdose in 3 days. And we were just at my house writing it.
wow.
I remember we were playing around on the keyboard in my studio, and I just started singing, I'm a stone man floating under the water. Because I was like, stones would just sink, but like
Yeah.
staying there where you can't catch a breath and you can't go to the bottom and just cut it out.
Wow.
And it's lonely because you've got you're reaching for something that's unattainable, and then that person's kind of convinced you that they're going to come meet you, and then you're just emotionally on a completely different level. I just thought that was an interesting contrast. And so I decided to title the whole EP that, then Beautiful Disaster is kind of a similar theme of you're chasing something you can't ever get. And it's like the what you feel for somebody, it's, you know, it's beautiful, but it also tortures you, and it's a disaster, and it's,
Yeah.
and you're enabling it, and there's something about you that goes into these patterns that does stuff that's self-destructive. So that's kind of like a common theme in the EP, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. I like in What's Left of You, I love this lyric. You say you're such a mess. I like the mess you make. Think you're too hard-headed. You're not that hard to take. When your puzzled heart's missing a piece or two, that's good enough for me. I'll love what's left of you. I love picturing that puzzled heart missing a piece. You know, there's something so cool about that. And it's still, you know, you'll love them anyway, even if they're missing a
Yeah.
piece.
And that's kind of like looking at this thing from the brighter side, and this kind of
Yeah.
relationship that, you know, it's not going to work. It's like, you know, you ever been in a relationship with somebody that's like, you know, I don't have anything left to give. Like, I don't, you
Mhm.
know, like, I really want to. I'm just like, you know, it's kind of the same thing of if you're emotionally fried and you go right into another relationship, you're probably not going to be your best version, and then you're not going to put as much into it because you don't really have much. And
Right.
so the other end of that's being like, you know, uh, I don't really care what you have. I'll take whatever you got, and I'll love whatever I get.
That's cool. That's nice.
And so yeah, it's kind of trying to have a lighter and a sweeter spin on the hard stuff with that emotion.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so then the Stone Man EP has 3 songs now, and it's gonna have 3 more, right, that are unreleased?
We put the 3 out this last Friday.
Yeah. Oh, so now everything's released?
Everything's officially out now. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so the other ones you mentioned, The Only One and Overdose, and, the other song is I Love You More. So, yeah, so
Yeah.
all the songs are out now. That's awesome. So the full
Yeah.
album. That's
Yeah.
great.
So it's full EP, and then I've got a new song coming in August called Sun Kissed, which is just like a fun driving summer song where it makes you want to go to the beach.
Nice.
So moving a little bit more out of the heartbreak and into the next chapter of my life, which is, you know, I'm ready to get outdoors and enjoy the sun and have some fun.
Yeah, exactly. Leave the heartbreak behind and look toward
Yeah,
the
now that
future.
I've got it out of my system,
Yeah.
processed it, I can move on, and now I'm in a more positive zone.
Yeah, exactly. You know what's cool is that I think with the digital age of music now that you can release, you know, songs as singles, as EPs, like it's just such a different way than when we grew up. Like when we were kids, it had to be like a 12-song complete album that came out as a record or a cassette or a
Mhm.
CD. And you had to wait till the full album came out in a store. And now it's like you're feeling something, you can make a single and you can put it out into the world. And then when you have them all ready, you know, you release this EP and you don't have to wait anymore for the full album like we used to have to do when we were kids.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool, and it's interesting because, you know, when you start writing something like a year ago, you're writing this, and this. 6 months later, you're writing this, and you feel completely different. You're like, well, I feel this way now. I want to put this out instead of this. And you can kind of like, you're not
Right.
really stuck to anything. You don't have to, you kind of make the rules a little bit more. Also, I just think that the way that people listen to music now, it's, uh, unless they're really, um, you know, crazy about the process of making music and
Mhm.
music geeks, people
Yeah.
don't have a lot of patience to listen to a full length 12 song, 14-song record like they used to.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. But I like what you said though about releasing it while the song is like relevant to you in your life, not having to wait for the whole
Yeah.
album.
And it's like if I write a song tomorrow and I'm like, "Man, this is really how I feel right now." I can, you know, a month later I can figure out how to get it out there and like try to give it to people. And then there's songs that I have or I've written like 2 full records that are shelved and I'm waiting for the right time to put it out. And you know, because it's like I've got like I wrote like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, like a whole like almost like 80s inspo type record
Oh wow.
where it's like very it's just like very in that vibe. And kind of trying to figure out when I want to put that out. But I've got probably like 2 full records just sitting, waiting to come out.
Well, maybe some of that 80s music can be used on Acapulco. You can cross
Maybe.
promote.
I mean, I don't know if I can compete with like Billy Idol, but
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe when the show comes out, release your 80s inspired album. So
there you go.
it'll seem like you did it on purpose.
Yes, exactly.
That's cool. Well, okay, so here is where this becomes like inside the actor studio, Court Overstreet edition. So let's go back to the beginning, find out how you got your start. You said you were born and raised in Nashville, uh,
Yes.
and you have a bunch of siblings, and your dad, Paul Overstreet, very successful songwriter. So what's your earliest memory of saying, I want to work in music too when I grow up?
I think I just always wanted to do what my dad was doing. My dad
Yeah.
tells me a story of like he was playing these arena shows, and I don't remember exactly where it was. I was like 3 years old, maybe 3 or 4,
Yeah.
and my mom, when my dad got his first Grammy, my mom was pregnant with me, I think, at the Grammys, or his second Grammy or something. I don't really remember, but I went to the
You went to the
Grammys.
Grammys. Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. You were there.
and I got a Grammy award. No.
Exactly.
Um, but when I was like a baby and my mom would be on the side of the stage, my dad would be playing these huge, massive shows. She was like, you would just be clocking your dad. And you couldn't take your eyes off. You would just be like so focused and dialed in. And
Wow.
then when I was like 3, my dad tells a story. He was playing some arena show, and he'd always have his kids come out. We had 4 kids. He had 4 kids at the time. He'd always have his kids come out like before the end of the show and introduce everybody, and the band would be playing and stuff. And
Nice.
he introduced my brother Nash, and I came out and stood by my dad, and he introduced my sister Summer, and she came out, and then he introduced me, and there's this runway out at the end of the stage in the middle, and I walked right past him, walk out to the runway, and just like struck the guitar pose, and the crowd just went nuts.
Oh, wow.
That was probably my first moment where they were just like, "Oh, this guy's gonna be a handful."
Yeah, exactly. It stole the spotlight. There must be a video of that somewhere, right?
I mean, back then, it was car phones, so
Yeah,
if
that's
you
true.
didn't have your camera out, you missed it.
Yeah, maybe the venue filmed it. Wow, that's so cool. So yeah, so maybe you knew it was your calling at a very young age.
Yeah, I just always loved goofing around and trying to get people to laugh or like entertain people, and whether it was dressing up like Elvis and carrying a guitar on my ass. I just always watched my dad do it and would be in the studio with him from a really young age, and was just like fascinated with it.
So cool.
And then there was a gap of time when I probably like early high school to where I was more into sports and playing baseball, and like playing guitar wasn't and singing wasn't really a priority, and I was like, I don't want to sing in front of anybody because having stage fright and all that stuff.
Mm.
And then you finally get the balls to sing in front of somebody, and you're like, oh wow, this feels amazing. I love this. I don't like the sound of my own voice right now, but this is a great feeling. And then you do it enough times to where you're just over it, and then you can really just have fun with it. And that's even when I first moved out to LA,
When was that? How old were you?
19.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe no. Yeah, I was 19 when I first moved out to LA, but I still had a hard time singing in front of people. I was
Hmm.
still like nervous. I still had a lot of stage fright until I just like sucked it up and and got over it. But it was still like very challenging for me at first.
Yeah. Well, what was your first acting job? Because did you figure I don't want to sing in front of people, but I can act in front of people? Is that how you looked at it?
Yeah, and I also was like, my brother did music, my dad did music, and so I kind of was like, I wanted to do music, but I didn't really like want to do music because I was like, I don't want to just do what they're doing. I want to figure out my own thing.
Change it up. Yeah.
And I loved acting, and I could sing, and I wrote secretly, and I didn't tell anybody, and I didn't want it to be, but yeah, I didn't have a problem acting in front of people. Like I
Interesting.
like joking around and goofing around. The biggest thing was like, oh, what if people don't like my voice?
Hmm.
Um,
It was almost easier to play other characters, not yourself.
exactly. Like, so I could always sing and then do impressions of Kenny Chesney, Blake Shelton, Alan Jackson, or, and sound exactly like them, or Brooks and Dunn. But
Yeah.
having people actually hear my voice, that was a terrifying thing.
Oh, interesting. Well, and you also do a Matthew McConaughey speaking.
Exactly. So I grew up always doing impressions.
That's cool. I used to like to do that too, like in school for show and tell. I used to do impressions. That's
Yeah, I would
cool.
I would take like a little. I used to take a little old boom box, and I would like do like a fake radio show, and I would do a bunch of different voices in between songs, and I would record, and
That's so funny.
like at 9 years old, I would be doing like Bill Clinton impressions and stuff.
Me too. Wait, I was doing it too because I watched Saturday Night Live from a very
Yes,
early age.
exactly. I would
So I was
watch.
doing Dana Carvey doing George Bush, and then Phil Hartman doing Bill Clinton. I did the exact same thing. That's so funny.
Yes, I used to just like that's what I used to do if I was like bored when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I would
before the
just do
internet.
I would do impressions, and I'd have my tape recorder, I'd record it in. I could
Yeah,
go back and listen to it, and it was always like my brother would be like, "You don't sound anything like those people. You don't sound. Your impressions are horrible." I was like, "Well, I have a voice of a child right now."
right.
A and B, like whenever anybody told me I was like not good at something, I couldn't figure it out. Like I was determined to sound like that person,
Make it even better. Yeah, totally.
to where I didn't start off sounding like anybody I was impressed and doing an impression of, and then I would just work it so much that it's like, "Oh wow, you're really good at that."
Yeah, well, you've mastered the Matthew McConaughey for sure.
Matthew McConaughey, the Christopher Walken, uh, I started George Bush when I was like 15 or 16. The Christopher Walken, like a lot of people say they have a good Christopher Walken. I'm like, it's terrible.
What's your Christopher Walken? How's yours?
No, it's not, these guys. If you're like, welcome to the Christmas special, walking around the Christmas tree.
Yes,
Like,
that's
I don't
good.
know. What's one of the line? Two mice fell into a bucket of cream. The first mouse gave up and drowned. The second mouse, I am that mouse.
Have you met Christopher Walken? Have you been able to do it for him?
I I did meet him briefly at like one of these like Oscar Emmy kind of get-togethers that they
Yeah.
had in Hollywood,
Mhm.
and I was very, very, very shy and like, oh wow, I'm meeting Christopher Walken. It was crazy.
So you didn't do it for him.
Oh no, I'm sure everybody probably does.
What
He's
about
like, oh, it's
McConaughey?
not bad.
Have you met McConaughey?
Yeah, I met Matthew several times. Uh, I did. I think I met him the first time when I was like 19, and at the ACM Awards in Vegas.
Oh, okay.
I was there with my dad, and he was, I think, presenting at the time.
I saw that he reposted your impression on Instagram.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
He approved. It was McConaughey approved.
Green lights.
Totally. Yeah, you helped promote his book.
By the way, that book is so fantastic.
Yeah, I have it too. It's so good. I like a lot of his theories on life. One quick thing that I love is he says to make a to-do list every day, even the little things you have to get done, because when you cross everything off a to-do list, like there's a satisfaction in your whole system. And he's
Yeah,
right. Make a
it's
to-do
the
list
same
of
thing as like
everything.
if you're just cleaning the kitchen after you clean the kitchen, you're like, you know what? I feel pretty good about this. The cleanliness of this kitchen. It's use that quicker helper, or what is that, quicker quilted picker upper bounty.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you can check it off, it feels good. So you moved to LA, and so how did you book your first acting job, and what was that?
My first acting job, I came out here for a couple of months. I auditioned for this independent film. It was called Warrior at the time, and it was a lacrosse movie.
Oh,
And I
I
auditioned.
know that movie.
I never saw the movie.
I think Kellen Lutz was in that movie.
Ellen Lutz played the main guy. I auditioned for the main guy,
Okay.
and then I didn't get the role for the main guy. I did like 2 or 3 callbacks, and like this guy he's about to start working on this movie Twilight, or this movie. I was like, Twilight hadn't even come out yet. And Kellen and Ashley were both in the movie actually.
Right. Yes.
And I've still, remained friends with both of them. They're both awesome and great. But that was like the first gig I did, and I played this. I didn't get the main part, but they, I guess, like my audition so much that we played this role in the movie. And so I was, okay, yeah, sure. And so like 19, I drove out to. I went to LA for 2 months to kind of do a few auditions and kind of just try to test the waters.
Right.
Back to Nashville, and then I drove out to film the movie in January, and I never lived back in Nashville again.
Wow.
Um, other than going back here a month at a time and here and there. But I did that, filmed that movie, and then started like the auditioning after that movie was done.
Yeah.
Did a couple like small guest spots on some TV shows, um, like small little things in indie films, and then I booked a pilot for ABC um, right before Glee called No Ordinary Family.
Right. I remember that.
And then in the pilot episode, like I just had signed with a new manager at the time, and I went out the night before. She was like, I want you to introduce you to some people. And like, for some reason, like I lost my voice completely. And the next day when I went to shoot, I couldn't hardly speak.
Oh no.
And then I got recast on that pilot. I had to
No
do like a
way.
full day of ADR because they
Wow.
couldn't hear me. I ended up getting recast on the pilot. And, at this time I was like, oh man, I was just down. I was like, my agents are going to drop me. It's bad. Like I just had my one big shot and just like completely just blew it. And like I couldn't like just lost my voice completely. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, I get a call from one of the guys at my agency and say, hey, can you go in for this audition for Glee?
Wow.
My sisters had been telling me about this specific role they're casting. They're auditioning like MySpace was big at the time. Like they're
Yeah.
auditioning a bunch of like 40,000 people are auditioning on MySpace. And yeah, I was like, I'm not doing a MySpace audition. I don't even use MySpace. And then cut to my agents like, hey, they're doing a casting and audition, and they're having people come in today for the show. Can you get there in 30 minutes? And I was like, well, can I bring my guitar? And he's like, yeah. So we went in. I went in to do the read with Robert and everybody, and they had so many guys in the casting office. So we're not having anybody read the scene. And the scene was the pilot for Finn's character.
Mm.
And so the scene was him getting out of something and being like, my mom just something about his mom's prostate. It was something ridiculous for the
Yeah.
pilot scene, and that was what they were giving people audition. But they were like, there's so many people auditioning, we're just having some people come in and sing a song and not read. And so I brought my guitar in, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to sing. Can I sing? I don't know any covers to sing. Can I sing an original song?
Oh wow.
And of course they were like, oh, this kid writes songs, he's going to sing a song. And I'm sure they were probably like, this is going to be not great. And anyways, I sang an original song, and they're like, can you go back out in the lobby and grab the sides and I come back in and read? And I was like, okay. So I go back in the lobby and grab the sides, I do the read, and then I leave. And I get a call when I get back to my house being like, hey, we sent somebody after you, but you had already left. Can you come back tonight and figure out a cover to sing a cappella, no guitar, just sing a cover? And I was like, okay. So I learned Gavin DeGraw's I Don't Want to Be Anything.
Great song.
I came back that night at like around like 9:30 in the casting office, and I sang it a cappella, went through the series of like testing and whatnot. And then next thing I knew, I was singing and dancing and goofing around for the next 5+ years.
It's amazing. And so you joined in the second season, so it was already this big hit show that you got to join.
Yeah, I joined
cool.
top of season 2, and everybody always gave me shit because I had no idea about the show, because I had never seen an episode of it before I started working on the show.
Wow.
And
That's
everybody
pretty cool.
was giving me shit for not having seen it.
Yeah, well, the whole country was talking about it at that point. But didn't you? I heard that for the studio test, you did "Billionaire" by Travie McCoy and Bruno Mars.
Yeah, they had us do for the test that song because that was the first song we were singing on the show, and so I did that song, and the rest was history.
Yeah, so that song was in your first episode, which was the season 2 premiere. And what was cool about the show was that they would release the cover songs from the show as actual singles, the next day. And your cover of "Billionaire" was released, and it like charted all over the world, right? It was like number 15 in Ireland, 24 in Canada, 28 in America, 34 in Australia. I mean, what was that like? You thought you were just doing it for the TV show, but it actually became like a hit song.
Yeah, I had no idea. I didn't know any of those stats.
That's true.
But yeah, I we kind of when we went in, we just were kind of heads down, and I wasn't really aware of the effect it had outside of whatever until after we finished filming,
Yeah.
I went home for Christmas and went to a mall and just like got absolutely mobbed, and I was like, what the hell is this
Wow.
happened here? But yeah, it was such a wild time. Like, they would put out a song and it would end up #1 on iTunes, and just
Right. Exactly. Like the next day.
wild, wild shit.
Yeah, but, like, after your first episode, you were an overnight star, which is pretty amazing, it was, like, a culmination of all those years of, loving acting and music, and it was a show that was, like, the perfect age for you and the perfect, like,
Yeah, and the
everything.
crazy thing was, and it was such a blessing looking back on it, was like how fortunate was I that I got to do a show that was involved with music, to where it
Right,
was like it's just such a it just fits so well to like what I wanted to do. It's like, okay, well, you want to do acting, you want to do music, you got to pick one. I'm like, well, no, you don't.
exactly,
I'm doing both of them at the same time. It was great, and then I was getting to
and
sing some of the
the
coolest
biggest
songs
one.
ever.
Yeah, and you got to sing, I was just gonna say, like, and not as yourself, you got to sing as the character Sam, and so it kind of maybe helped you get over that stage fright of singing as yourself.
Yeah, and a lot of repetition of just like singing over and over and over and over. In the studio, I became a lot better of a singer. Found out how to do more tricks, how to sing better, how to breathe better, how to without taking singing lessons, by just doing it so much, I learned a lot. It was pretty much like boot camp or college for performing.
Totally, crash course. How cool. And season 1 of Glee had won the Golden Globe for Best Comedy Series, which is huge. Jane Lynch won the Emmy for Best Supporting Actress. I mean, this was in not just a hit show in the ratings and popularity and pop culture, but it was winning awards too, which is kind of cool to be critically acclaimed and, the audience loving it. Like, what a great, perfect storm for you to join.
Yeah, getting thrown into it, it's very, very, very blessed and very fortunate. It's definitely, it's got to be a God thing, because it still doesn't really make sense to me.
It was amazing. No, you were talented and it was the right role at the right time. What was it like joining that cast? Because it was such a talented cast of people, everyone from Jane Lynch to Matthew Morrison to Leah Michelle and Naya Rivera and Jenna Ushkowitz, and everyone was just amazing singers.
Yeah, it was intimidating, I mean, the person that I was most intimidated by, which is probably one of the coolest. I mean, it was all like intimidating because everybody had been together for like a little over a year. They filmed the first 13 episodes, and then they finished filming the second half of season 1 when they figured out they got picked up. And so they'd already had all this bond, and they'd already kind of, so being the new person coming into that and being the first new person coming into that was a little bit intimidating. But obviously, like, I'm a huge comedy fan, so all the Judd Apatow movies and things that Jane Lynch had done previously, like Best in Show and like the Christopher Guest things, like
Yeah,
um getting to see her do stuff in person was probably one of the coolest things ever. But I'm such a huge comedy nut that was like one of those that was very intimidating. And Jane obviously couldn't be cooler, and she's this freaking sweetest.
and talk
But
about someone being perfect for a role. I mean, it's perfect for her.
yeah, and that was it, like she was just like, she's like such a comedy icon that it's just like, that to me is what I geeked out over the most. And then the all the creators and writers are so great and so talented and doing so many other great things. That's just like, being a part of that was just such a cool experience.
So cool. Yeah. And then, something interesting happened between seasons 2 and 3 that I want to mention, because you were recurring as Sam Evans at first, and the fans kind of rallied around to make you a regular on the show. There was like a hashtag on Twitter, right? Like to like don't cut the cord or something.
I don't, yeah, all that kind of seems like a blur to me now. It's
It's
like
all true.
it was like, it's 9 or 10 years ago.
Yeah. But they like rallied around you to make sure that you stayed on the show, which is so cool.
Yeah, it's, you gotta love fans. And I think it was I think at that point, everybody was just testing out what worked and what didn't work and kind of trying to figure out like, so I think it was definitely a great to see reaction from people that really responded to that character.
Yeah, absolutely. You had a very successful 5-season run on that show. A couple of other stats to mention, accolades. Season 2 won the Golden Globe again for Best Comedy Series. At that point, you were on the show. Uh, Jane Lynch and Chris Colfer each won Golden Globes. Uh,
Hmm.
Season 1, Glee won the SAG Award for Ensemble in a Comedy Series in 2010. Then you were nominated with the cast again for Best Ensemble 2011, 2012, 2013. Season 1, Glee won the People's Choice Award for Favorite New Comedy. Season 2 won the People's Choice Award for Favorite TV Comedy. And then the Teen Choice Awards, Glee won Choice TV Comedy 4 years in a row,
Yeah.
2010 through 2013. And in 2013, you won the Teen Choice Award for Choice TV Scene Stealer, tongue twister. The trophy's a surfboard, right? Do you have that surfboard?
uh, it's somewhere. I think it's in storage right now.
You got to
But
display it somewhere.
I
That's
do
too
have
cool.
it. Yeah, I sold my house top of the year. So and right when I went down to Mexico. So um I have all my stuff in storage, but I'm sure I'll get it out here in the next week or two and
Yeah, you got
get
to
some waves.
put that surfboard prominently displayed on the wall.
It's over
And you
my
were
fireplace.
exactly, it's a conversation piece for sure. It's a very unique award. It's a full size surfboard. And then in 2014, you were nominated again, Choice TV Actor in a Comedy, which is awesome. You got to ride that Glee wave for 5 seasons. I just think that's so cool.
Yeah, it's so weird to look back because it feels like it just happened. It also feels like so long ago in the same breath.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It was a phenomenon to say the least. What's cool too is in 2010 and 2011, the cast went on a live concert tour. So you got to be a touring musician as part of the cast. Was that
I wouldn't say musician.
well, you got to go
Definitely.
on tour
I got to
perform.
but I got to sing at
Yeah,
Staples Center and the O2 and all this crazy things that I mean, as a performer, it's terrible to do that as your first gig because then you go back and you're going to play these 400, 500 seat venues, which are amazing and great. You're,
right.
you're like, oh, I got to figure out how to get back to the Staples Center.
Exactly. Yeah, because you guys did 31 shows in 21 cities all across America and then internationally in London, Dublin. And then in 2011, they released the Glee concert movie in theaters, which was like a 3D
I forgot they
concert.
did that.
Yeah, and that one was actually the concert that was filmed at the Garden State Art Center in East Rutherford, New Jersey, where I grew up going to concerts, which is a great
Is that where the Devils play?
venue. No, this is the theater. This is like the Garden State Art Center. So it's like
We did one. I think we did the
did you do
concert.
one in the hockey arena?
I feel like it was either where the Islanders play
Oh, maybe where the Devils play. Yeah, that's
or the
possible for
Devils
sure.
play. I can't.
Yeah, it might have been in that arena where the Devils play. Yeah, that's big. That's a big spot in Jersey. But yeah, I grew up going to
Either in
all.
Jersey or Long Island. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, maybe you went to the Islanders in Long Island. I'm sure. But yeah, you guys were selling out those venues. I just think it's cool that you went from like this kid who loved acting and music in Nashville to touring the world as part of Glee. I just think it was like a fulfilled, dream, which is really cool.
Yeah, it was definitely it was a hell of a time for sure.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite memories or episodes when you think back to Glee?
Um, yeah, I feel like the first episode is always, sticks with me.
Mhm.
I mean, there's so many great memories. The first episode, it felt like I got, a little bit hazed by the guys on set because I was the new kid that they were gonna fuck with, and it's kind of like a little bit of initiation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many great memories and so many fun times that are. You can't really pick one. I mean, from when we rapped, when we started, it was all just there was a lot of emotions in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I like that the cast of Glee always seem to, come together for the ups and the downs like a real family in real life. And they still do to this day, which
Yeah,
is
they're pretty much all family. They're some of the best people and best friends, and just I think everybody got really close because we were around each other 24/7 for 5 years.
yeah. It was awesome. What an amazing time. And what was cool too was that so many guest stars, like all these huge actors wanted to be on Glee, which was amazing. You know, people just wanted to like do their Glee episode, which was really cool. So it was probably like a crash course, not only in music, but in acting too.
Yeah, you just get to meet a lot of really cool people that are just that, you grew up watching and admiring. It's really cool.
Yeah. And I think with the quarantine, I feel like from what I could see, like people almost binged Glee all over again on Netflix. And so it's almost like a new generation is finding it.
That's what's great about, like, this. I mean, I'm sure it's not like but like the streaming world, it's like you can re-dive into these shows that you watch. Like, I mean, I probably watched, you know, Breaking Bad like 10 times over, like not this year, but like
Yeah.
since it came out, I've streamed it and watched it over and over because it's just such a really well told story. And stuff like that, to where it's like if you got like shows like Glee or Vampire Diaries, or How I Met Your Mother, and all these like shows, you can just like Friends, Friends in The Office. Like, how many times have you seen The Office? I've seen The Office probably 100 times every
Yeah.
episode.
I've seen Friends more than probably anyone else.
Yeah, and it's like the show you put on
Yeah.
when before you go to bed, and you just kind of like wanted to zone out and watch some good sitcom TV.
Yeah. And what's cool with Glee is that there'll always be a young generation that finds it when they're that age, when they're in high school.
Yeah, and also the music that they use is so timeless that it's it's not dated.
Yeah, exactly. And they had all the rights to the music, so they don't have to change it. Like some of the shows, if you go back, old shows from the 80s and 90s, they didn't have the rights to stream that music back then because they didn't know that was the future, but at least Glee is intact, which is good.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the cool thing, I guess, about streaming, which I don't know if it's as beneficial as having shows on the TV as far as everybody else goes, besides the people that are but it's like that those shows can really live forever.
Literally, yeah. So you're part of that legacy, which is really cool. Something you should be really proud of.
What a journey.
What a journey, yeah. So after Glee, you were able to focus more on your own music, not just covers. In 2017, you released an EP called the Treehouse Tapes. So tell me about
Mhm.
the Treehouse Tapes and why it's called the Treehouse Tapes.
Well, because my house used to kind of be up in the hills, and it looked like it was kind of like a little tree house, and I wrote all those songs up there by myself. And I put that EP together, because I was signed with a record label at the time. And, you know, like a lot of record labels, they'll have songs that they give artists to record and stuff. And I was writing all my own music, and they really just never sent me any music to record. And there's a lot of things that people get signed by record companies, and they kind of just shelf them, and they don't plan on putting out music or doing whatever it is.
Mhm.
And I signed this record deal, and I had I written the song "Hold On," and the thing kept getting back is, "Oh, this song's too slow. It's too this and this to ever get synced or to go to radio with it."
Hmm.
Um, and then I sent the song to a friend of mine, Nina Dobrev,
Mhm.
and she was down filming the last season of Vampire Diaries in Atlanta, and she played it for another one of my friends, Julie Plec, who's the creator.
I know
And they
Julie.
ended up
Yeah.
putting it in the last episode of Vampire Diaries, and then it like was on the US top 50 viral and the world top 50 viral songs as soon as that episode aired. And that episode did so many amazing things for a song that everybody else was like, I don't, like the people label wanted something that was like Uptown Funk or a Shawn Mendes song that was like very like up and poppy. And
Yeah.
anyways, so that song went, and they tried to do a remix of it because Posner's Pill and Ibiza had just taken off as a remix.
Right.
And I just always loved the original, and that was where my heart was and what I felt. And then the song kind of just kept taking on a life of its own, and I didn't have any other music lined up to put out because they had really no game plan on really having a record or anything coming out. And so I had at least songs that I had written by myself in my treehouse, and I had my brother produce them, and had him produce them in his studio, and I put them out, and that was the Treehouse Tapes.
and you had control over it, which is nice.
I had control over it. I mean, it was still with the record label,
Oh, okay.
but we didn't have anything planned to release anything. So I put that Treehouse Tapes out, EP out, and because I didn't want to just have one song on my platform and that was it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the songs on that EP are Tortured Soul, Wreck Me, Screw Paris, and Take Me Home. Those titles are a little intense, I guess, a little
Yeah,
powerful.
I actually wrote Tortured Soul in between scenes in the choir room. I was
No
running
way.
in between scenes with my guitar, writing lyrics, and then while we were shooting.
Wow, that's a cool story.
Yeah, and yeah, and those songs are all like just kind of like still mark different moments in my life where I was like, oh, I remember where I was and what was going on when I wrote each of them.
So cool. Yeah, that's cool that you were, while working on Glee, you were writing your own projects too. 2019, you released another EP, Man on the Moon. That one you released under your uh, the name Overstreet. That was when you and your band, I saw you guys perform as Overstreet.
Hmm.
Uh, the songs on that EP, Man on the Moon, All Nighter, On the Way, Monster, and then a cover of Sex on Fire, which I saw you guys do at the Roxy that night, and people go crazy for that when you guys do Sex on Fire.
It's such a fun song, and I think the
Yeah.
reason why we did it is because I think the song had come out like 10 years or something
Okay.
before, and I was like, I can't believe this song is 10 years old. I was like, we gotta
I
play it.
can't
I love
even.
it. I love
Yeah.
Kingsley on. So
Totally.
um yeah, and that whole that came about because I think I was still at the label when I did a couple of tours acoustically, and they were great, like kind of 400, 500 seat,
Yeah.
1,000 or 800 something. It was just different venue sites around them, but I was doing these acoustic shows where it was just me and a guitar. And it's great, and it's great, but it's different than music that I'm just like, after doing like 2 or 3 months of that, I was like, I kind of want to just do a record of music that people can just like party, drink, and dance to, and it's like upbeat and fun stuff you want to like roll your windows down and just go for a drive with.
Yeah. And then on stage, you can just rock out to it when you perform it.
Yeah, and just like express yourself a different way, and like, because the one thing as a creative person that I have a hard time doing is being like, this is the box, this is who I am, and this is my music. I'm like, you know what? No, like right now, I like this shit. Right now, I like this shit. Right now, I like a lot of different stuff that inspires me and provokes me to say something in a different way. And so it's like, why not just say what I want to say, how I want to say it,
When you want to say it. Yeah.
when I want to say it. And that's the
Absolutely.
great thing about music. And I think now it's like there's really no rules.
Totally. Yeah. And
Like, oh,
that's why I said no two songs sound alike, because you really do, you know, make sure that you're not stuck in one genre, which is cool.
yeah, as long as it's real, as long as I'm saying something that is real for me, like, I can paint with different colors.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so back to acting for a second. I also want to mention a movie I watched in quarantine. 2020 had a movie come out called The Swing of Things, which is like an R-rated romantic comedy with you and Olivia Culpo. And it's so funny because I was watching it, and Olivia's character's last name is Mick Gursky, which is, I'm
Oh yeah.
Gursky. And so while I'm watching the movie, I keep hearing people say like McGursky, McGursky, and I keep hearing Gursky, which is not a name I've ever heard in a movie before. So I don't know if I know one of the writers or where that came from, but it was fun to see you as like a romantic comedy lead, and it looked like a really fun movie to make in like Jamaica. Was it as fun as it looked? It looked pretty wild.
It was an odd time. I mean, it was just like we were there for 3 weeks. We
Oh,
were
that's it?
we were there for 3 weeks. We didn't have a lot of time to do it, but it was one of those things to where I was like, man, this is an experience that I will never forget, because it was like a functioning swingers resort while we're there.
Oh, wait, it really was?
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was for the
Where like,
movie.
no, some of the stories I have will literally blow your mind. There's some of the stuff I've never seen in my life.
Wow. You'll have to tell me
I
not
was
on
like, we
here.
should have just filmed behind the scenes stuff and put that out.
Wait, they should just make a doc about the real place.
Yeah, we should. I mean, it's insane. It was called Hedonism 2. Clearly the first one, this was the upgraded version.
Right. I had no idea. I thought that was totally made up for the movie.
No, so they had us all staying down here at the Swingers Resort for 3 months or 3 weeks, and
No way.
it was absolute insanity. I mean, it was a fun time. It was like 3 weeks, so it wasn't anything crazy, but like, I mean, some of the craziest shit you'll ever see. Like you have like
Wow.
people walking around in fishnet at the buffet with nothing underneath it, just like, and like there's dudes by the pool, like just stuff that's like, this has got to be illegal, and this is like, it
Yeah.
was, it was a different experience.
Wow. I did not realize. I thought it was completely fictional for the movie. That is a fun fact.
No, they had this. There's this room that's open apparently at like it opens at 10 p.m. to 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. and it's called the Romper Room, I guess. And the Romper
Oh,
Room is like apparently you have to get invited by a girl to go in, but it's. I shot in that room one day. We did like one scene in there, and I was like, I walk in there. It was not functioning. It was not the Romper Room functioning. Thank God.
right.
But I'm walking into the Romper Room, and there's like this octagon shaped shower in the middle of the room with all these different random holes in it.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just basically, I guess it's like an orgy room. I don't know to where. And but some of the stories I would ask some of the employees, like the craziest things you've seen, and like we were there was like it's just stuff that you would just not think is normal life, and you're
Wow.
just like, wow, this is insane.
Wow.
But one night, we're in the pool, all playing volleyball, swim trunks. Everybody's got a swimsuit on. And then the owner of the resort comes down there and he's just like, hey guys, whatever, and starts talking, and then just drops his swim trunks and gets in the pool butt ass naked. And you're just like, where the hell are we?
Wow.
And it was some of the crazy. I mean, there's some extremely graphic, crazy stories that um, I can't even really go into.
Wow. So it was a nudist colony and a swingers resort, I guess.
You're just walking to set one day and you're like, what the hell just happened to my eyes?
Oh wow. Well, now when people watch that movie, they'll know it was a real place and it will have a totally different meaning.
I
Wow.
mean, there was one night when there was like these hot tubs on on everybody's balcony in their room, like kind of little janky. And my hot tub wasn't working, and I was like, I'm kind of glad it wasn't. I probably shouldn't have gotten it anyways, and I didn't. My hot tub wasn't working. I was like trying to see if I could figure out how to turn it on. Couldn't. Went back inside. Next door to me, there's like 3 or 4 people in the hot tub that are, like probably in their 50s or something. And like, oh, hey, your hot tub not working? You want to come in our hot tub and join in over here? I'm like,
Wow. You're like, I'm
no,
just
I'm in
here.
the hot tub with them. No.
Exactly. You're like, I'm just here for work. I swear.
um, it
Wow.
it was probably one of the craziest 3 weeks my poor little eyes have ever seen. But
Wow.
um, yeah, it was they should have filmed the doc about it.
Totally. They still can. It's not too late. Well, now people know why the title is
Well,
The
you know
Swing
what?
of
We'll
Things.
why don't we go down there and film a doc about it?
All right. I think I'm sold.
It'll be revisiting
Okay.
hedonism too.
Totally. Okay. Hedonism is such a great title already for the doc. That's great.
But there's this
Hedonism.
one guy, his name is Hito Rick, where he's been there since like the 80s. And he's like, apparently he like, I guess on E-Bombs World or some sort of early video website thing that could sometimes things would go viral.
Right.
Interview of him like in the 80s, like where he just wears a like some sort of like a speedo or something, and he's just like thrusting and doing this weird thrusting dance on camera, and like slips and busts his ass in the rain. That kind of went viral. And he's
Wow.
still at that resort at like 86, and he still goes there like
Oh my gosh.
6 months out of the year, something like. It's just it's insanity.
He might be the first person who ever went viral. That could be possible.
He's definitely the oldest.
Yes, exactly. Wow. Well, who knew that the Swing of Things was a real swingers resort? That was a behind the scenes story I was not expecting. I thought it was totally fiction.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was not.
Well, it was fun to see you in a romantic comedy lead. I'll say that much. And we have to find out if one of the writers knows me, because it's too weird that Gursky was the last name in that movie.
There's got to be somebody in there.
I need to know. I need to know. So, Swing of Things is available everywhere movies are, on iTunes and everywhere. So, what is next for CHORD Overstreet? Acapulco, obviously.
That's I think towards the back half of this year.
Yes, to be
Um,
determined.
I'm super excited about this. It's such a great casting group of people, and
Yeah,
it's a
I
really
think it's
fun
going to be
show.
big. Sounds like
It's
it's going to be
fun,
big.
and it's really cool because it's bilingual. So there's it's probably like 60% Spanish or 70% Spanish, which is really cool, and getting to showcase a lot of really talented people that I've being most of the entertainment I watch comes from the US. So
Right.
being exposed to all these really talented megastars, um, and getting to work with them and watch them work is really cool.
Yeah. And so what else do you want to do in terms of music, movies? What are you kind of thinking about?
Putting out more music, continuing to put music out that I have ready to go rest of the year, and then working on developing a couple of different things to show that I've been working on for the last like 3 years, and then a couple other projects, and then grinding away on the acting side in the meantime in between seasons.
Nice. Awesome. So, okay, before we go, I always like to ask my guests, what advice do you have for someone who would like to have a career like yours?
um, I would say persistence.
Hmm.
Persistence, like be the last one to give up, and the first one to show up.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, a career like mine is so specific, as is everybody's. But yeah, I mean, the city is full of just people that are lined up, who are younger, more talented, better looking always. So, it's really about, working as hard as you can and being the last one to call it quits, because you never know. Like, you hear stories like John Hamm when he got Madman, that, he'd been here for how long? I mean,
Yeah. I think he was a
uh,
waiter at Moza, right? That's what I
yeah.
heard.
And like, you hear of these like crazy stories where it's just about people not giving up. And if you're going to put yourself in front of people, make sure that you're the best version of yourself and the best you can be, and don't go in something ill prepared, and prepare.
Yeah. Is there different advice you would give for acting than music, or is it the same for both?
Music would just be persistence, but like, be honest and be okay with being specific. Um, don't try to recreate somebody else's. I mean, you can be inspired by something, be like, I this sound, I really like the way this sounds, and this, but like, communicate, tell your story, be honest, and I mean, there's really no wrong answers if it comes from an honest place.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great
But
answer.
it's gonna, I mean, don't try to shoot for something going viral. Don't try to just make what you make and just keep pushing along. I mean, it's really rare that anybody ever makes it in the entertainment world.
Mm,
So if you love it, just do it because you love it, and don't do it to get something out of it.
good advice. Great
But
advice.
I don't
Okay,
know.
so but you know what, everyone, it's luck, it's skill, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, a lot of like relationships, a lot of friends, helping other people. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
everybody has got where they've gotten, um, and been put in a place to where they could be successful and succeed with the help of somebody else.
right.
Whether it's somebody you don't really know that well at the time, but they believe in you and they support you. Whether it's a casting director, whether it's a producer fighting for you, whether it's somebody that's a friend.
Mhm.
Um, there's so many people going out for every single job that you have to have people on your side. So
Yeah, sometimes you don't even know who it was behind the scenes that was fighting for you.
no, but the only reason you got anything is because somebody was.
Yeah.
So it's always important to know.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Okay, so the very last thing we do here on the list is called the mystery question, where my guest from the last podcast leaves the question for my next guest, whoever that may be. So then I'll have you send me a mystery question for my next guest. So the guest on my last podcast was Amber Stevens West. She's the star of she's the star of a new show on Stars called Run the World. So Amber emailed me a mystery question, and I sealed it in this envelope, and I'll open it for you and read it, and then I'll have you email me your mystery question for my next guest, whoever that may be. So let's See, Amber's question is CHORD OVERSTREET. What new skill have you acquired during quarantine? Good question.
What new skill have I acquired during quarantine? I would say that my new skill that I acquired would probably be how to raise the production value of a 3-person house party.
Wow.
I got stir crazy uh, during the pandemic, and I bought a bunch of professional grade lasers and smoke machines, and we just basically put on some oldies playlists and just have play beer pong in the kitchen with my roommate
Yeah,
with all these smoke machines and laser shows, and just like turn it into bars. Like, what else am I gonna do? There's, it's like stuck at home, may as well have some fun.
totally. I think people got very creative in the last year.
Yeah, that was probably uh, one of my best skills that I developed. That and self tapes.
Right. Which, by the way, I think self tapes are here to stay. I don't think that was just a quarantine thing.
No, I don't think so. That's probably the most beneficial tool we're all learning.
Yeah, you don't have to drive around in LA traffic anymore to auditions. You can just send it in.
You don't even have to be in LA.
That's true. You can be in Nashville recording music.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, that's a great answer to Amber Stevens about quarantine. And you can use those party skills for your birthday party next year, which will hopefully be in person with everybody again.
Yeah, and I'll have Calvin Harris DJing, so it'll be a little bit more higher
Perfect.
upscale than the last one.
I will save the date, February 2022. Looking forward to it. So that is a wrap on episode 68. We did it finally.
Oh, come on, you didn't wait for me one more episode?
Oh, I know. That's just by chance. That would have fit perfectly with the swing of things, actually. We'll see who my next guest is. That'll be interesting to see their reaction to that when I announce what episode they're on.
With my luck, it'll probably fly right over their head.
We'll see. We'll find out. That'll get people tuning in next time. But yes, episode 68. Thank you, CHORD OVERSTREET, for being here. If you haven't already, be sure to check out his new music. His latest EP, Stone Man, just dropped on June 25th. And be on the lookout for his new show, Acapulco, coming soon to Apple TV Plus. I can't wait to see it. Thank you again to CHORD. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And I'll talk to you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, Brett.
Thanks so much. This was so cool.
Yeah. Fun as hell.
Fun as hell. I wanted to take a minute to talk about the sponsors of On the List: Hint Water, eBay, and Magic Spoon cereal. So first we've got Hint Water. I've got some of my favorite flavors right here. Here's the watermelon, the strawberry kiwi, raspberry, pineapple, and I also love the crisp apple, blood orange, lemon, pear, clementine. I love all the flavors. So what's really cool about Hint is that there's no sugar, no diet sweeteners, no calories, no preservatives, and it's non-GMO certified. It's also vegan, contains no nuts, no soy, no gluten, no MSG. And so Hint is offering home delivery when you sign up on the Hint website, drinkhint.com. And they're offering new customers 36 bottles for $36 if you use the code NEW36 at checkout, NEW36. So go to drinkhint.com and use the code NEW36 at checkout. And next we've got eBay. So if you like vintage sneakers as much as I do, eBay is the place for you. Here's a pair right here. Here's another pair right here. So what's cool about eBay is that they've got rare dead stock, but they've also got the latest releases, and you can find the exact pair that you're looking for on eBay. So it was actually the original sneaker marketplace, and it's still the place to go to get the pair you've been looking for. So eBay has an authenticity guarantee, and they also have a team of independent professional authenticators performing rigorous inspections of the sneakers that you purchase before they're sent to you. So you can shop confidently knowing that your pair is the real deal. And for sneaker sellers out there, eBay eliminated selling fees on sneakers over $100. So it's free to sell or flip your collection. Other sites take 25%, but eBay waived the fee. So check out ebay.com/sneakers today. And last but not least, Magic Spoon cereal. So Magic Spoon cereal is one of my favorite cereals. There it is right there. This is the peanut butter flavor. Um, so, if you've tried to cut back on sugar or carbs or unhealthy foods in general, then Magic Spoon's the answer for you. So they've got frosted blueberry cocoa. I mix the cocoa with the peanut butter, so you have peanut butter and chocolate. I also mix the frosted with the blueberry, and they've also got a fruity flavor. And everyone I've told Magic Spoon about has gotten hooked on it. So the best thing about Magic Spoon cereal, besides the fact that it tastes so good, is zero sugar, no sugar at all, even though it tastes great. It's also low carb, only 3 grams, so it's keto friendly. And it's high in protein, 11 grams per serving. So it's got everything you need, and it excludes all the stuff you don't, and it's just really good. So if you go to magicspoon.com/Brett, BRETT, you can make your own variety pack of 4 flavors. You can choose from frosted, blueberry, fruity, cocoa, peanut butter, and whatever new flavors they have to offer. Then just use the code Brett, BRETT, at checkout for free shipping. So go to magicspoon.com/Brett and then use the code Brett, BRETT, at checkout for free shipping. And I will see you guys next time.